Hey everybody, this is Justin with Sillage Scents. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. Please subscribe as we get ready to go here. The channel's been growing a lot lately, and I really appreciate you checking back and following as a couple videos are being uploaded each week. All right, well, let's get into some fragrances that each smell amazing and that do very well this time of year. Some of them are quite versatile. You could wear them really anytime, but each of these are ones I'm really looking forward to wearing here in the next few weeks. The first one we'll go with, this one might be a bit of a surprise to some. This is really a blue fragrance, but it's a blue fragrance with some sweetness and uniqueness that really fits very well this time of year. And so I'm talking about Loam Lacoste Intense, or I guess Lacoste Loam Intense, even though it's written the other way. This is almost like you were to take something like Dylan Blue and add a sweet orange and a rhubarb note to it, and that's kind of what you get with this one. The sweet orange is almost like a candied orange, and that rhubarb is such a unique note. I've got a couple other fragrances like John Varvatos Vintage that utilize rhubarb. It's a very cool note, and this one is a long-lasting, powerful fragrance, 4 or 5 sprays. You're going to smell amazing for 8 or 10 hours, and this one really cuts through the cold, even though it's really kind of a blue fragrance profile with the citrus and ginger in the opening with a little extra sweetness, and then you've got woods in the dry down. It's just a cool fragrance that I thought, man, I want to be sure I remember that one this winter. All right, next up, this is one that unfortunately doesn't have great performance, I'll say right off the bat, but this is one of the best smelling men's fragrances, one of the best smelling openings for sure. It really just smells amazing all around. You can get it all day long for $20. This is a classic at this point. I'm talking about CK1 Shock. You can get it at the rack stores. You can get it on discounters. It is truly an amazing scent. Just to give you a few of the notes, in the opening, you've got lavender, clementine, cucumber. And so in the opening, you've got that clementine with the cucumber and the lavender just does something so unique. I heard somebody say it reminds them of the smell of an energy drink, which is kind of weird, but I kind of get it. But that's not where it ends. It's not a citrusy heavy fragrance. And then it goes on into the mid where you've got cardamom, pepper, basil, osmanthus. So now we're starting to get interesting with cardamom and pepper and osmanthus. And then in the base, you've got tobacco, amber, patchouli, woodsy notes, and musk. Just reading off those notes, you would think, man, unless they really screwed this fragrance up, it's going to smell amazing. And it does. This is a beautiful tobacco scent, spicy with a really cool citric opening. It's just fantastic. If you don't own it, it's worth the $20 to grab a bottle of it. But temper your expectations. I literally only get about 3 or 4 hours of performance out of this thing, and that is a real bummer, but man, it smells great. All right, this next one, this is a beast. I mean, this is probably a 10-hour fragrance on my skin. This is a new release. I think this year in 22, it might have been 2021, but no, it is 22. This is Azzaro's The Most Wanted Parfum Concentration. So the Most Wanted EDP was fantastic. It was a little more gourmand leaning. This one is a little fresher, if I could say that. It's very vibrant. The opening reminds me a little bit almost of a blue fragrance because there is a very beautiful ginger and citrus in the opening that really catches your attention. And then the only 3 notes that Azzaro gives you with this one is you've got citrus in the opening, you've got incandescent woods in the mid, and then you've got bourbon vanilla in the base. And that's all they give you. There's definitely more than that going on in the fragrance, but those incandescent woods may be very slightly smoky, but just this hearty woods in the base. And then that bourbon vanilla is incredible, and it's strong, and it lasts throughout the whole fragrance. But really, the ginger and the woods and the vanilla, you get pretty much right at the opening, and it lasts all through the fragrance. On my skin, it doesn't develop a whole lot, but it just smells awesome from the beginning all the way through the dry down, and this thing lasts forever. So if you can get your hands on it, I've seen some really good sales on Amazon because this doesn't come to discounters yet. At least I haven't seen it, and it's often full price if you do find it on a discounter. But Amazon's had some good deals lately. This is a great cold weather fragrance, and because of that fresh opening, I think you could totally wear it in the spring, in the fall. It doesn't have to be only cold weather. All right, I got two more for you. This next one, this is one that I bought with my own money. It wasn't sent to me. This isn't sponsored. The company has no idea I'm making this video, nor would they probably care. But this is a clone of African Leather by Memo, which is a fragrance that is amazing. I love the smell of that fragrance, but it's like $170, $180. And I didn't want to spend my entire fragrance budget after Christmas getting some cash in for Christmas on one fragrance. So I got a clone from Alexandria Fragrances. This is called African Magic, and it is awesome. I mean, as soon as you spray it on, you get cardamom, you get leather. There's a little bit of oud in here, although it's not a very oudy fragrance, but there's something, there's something kind of, maybe you would say slightly dirty or slightly funky. The leather mixing with that oud. There's also saffron in here. There's a beautiful cardamom in here. Let's see if I'm missing any significant. Cardamom, saffron, leather, patchouli, and vetiver are oud, patchouli, and vetiver are all the notes that we get. But man, it smells amazing. And I think this was $39 for 30 mil, and there's a 15% off discount code. I think it's Alexandria 15 that you can use. But it's a great fragrance. But here's the downside. The performance does not match up to Memo's fragrance. I think that's about a 12-hour fragrance, whereas this is about a 6-hour fragrance. Maybe it goes a little longer than that, but you're going to get whiffs of it for about 5 or 6 hours. It'll be a skin scent for maybe an hour or two after that. So the performance is about average, but when you compare it to the original, this African Magic can't hold up to the performance of the 12-hour beast that Memo African Leather is. But the scent profile is very close, and it smells amazing. All right, the last one that I'll mention, this one is a classic. This fragrance has influenced possibly more fragrances than anything that's come out in the last 10 or 15 years or so. But this is one that works in the cold. I think it even works in warm weather as long as you don't overdo it. It's a classic. Some people would say it's played out, but the reality is, most people who are not heavily into fragrances, they would smell this on you and say, wow, you smell amazing, and wouldn't even know what you're wearing. But this is just the OG Paco Rabanne Invictus. This is still a great smelling fragrance. You know, you've got that kind of grape bubblegum-esque opening. And then I'll give you the actual notes that are in it. I'd never even looked up the notes of Invictus until today. In the top, you've got, of course, an aquatic feel. I forgot to mention that. You've got sea notes, grapefruit, mandarin orange. And so that's the opening. You definitely get kind of a citric aquatic blast in the opening. In the mids, you've got bay leaf and jasmine. And then in the base, you've got ambergris, which is probably more like a, synthetic amber woods or something, guaiac wood, oak moss, and patchouli. And something about the way that those notes come together, you get this really intoxicating fragrance that has influenced so many fragrances. There are dozens of fragrances now that either are somewhat mimicking the original Invictus or at least some part of it, the opening or the mid. And so it's been incredibly influential for a reason. This thing smells great, and you can get it at a great price now. So thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, as I mentioned earlier, and let me know in the comments what are some of the fragrances, maybe some that you haven't worn in a while, that you're going to be digging out these next few months as it gets colder. And I look forward to reading and responding and interacting with you a little bit. All right, thanks. I'll see you on the next one.